every year seems to bring more interest to air quality monitoring. There have been several recent events drawing attention to outdoor air quality monitoring due to large-scale events that negatively impact the air we breathe. Unfortunately, up until recently, there really weren't too many good options for monitoring the air quality in your home. Good indoor air quality is important, as poor indoor air quality can damage your overall health. And since we spend a large amount of time in our homes, it's important to have a good understanding of the air we're breathing. Your indoor air quality can be negatively impacted by local manufacturing plants, wildfires, poor home ventilation, and even your house being sealed too tightly. And that's why in this video we'll be taking a look at the AIR-1 by Apollo Automation. Take note that while the AIR-1 was sent to me to take a look at, the thoughts and opinions in this video are my own without any outside influence, monetary or otherwise. The AIR-1 utilizes ESP Home and Wi-Fi, which means you can easily add it into Home Assistant. And it has a tiny footprint with both its width and depth coming in at 2.4 inches, and with its height at 1.18 inches, which allows for it to easily blend into your home. You can also download the case files, which will allow you to 3D print the case in any color of your choice, or even remix it if you desire. The AIR-1 has a starting price point of $89 USD, and has two optional add-on modules. Without any add-on modules, you'll get Bluetooth tracking through the ESP32 CS Mini, along with PM1, PM2.5, PM4, PM10, VOC, NOx, temperature, and humidity tracking with the Sense 55 module, as well as barometric pressure reading through a DPS 310 module, and it also has built-in RGB LED lights. The AIR-1 comes fully assembled and ready to be set up right away without the need of connecting or soldering anything. Keep in mind that it does not come with a power supply or cable, so you'll need to supply your own USB-C cable and power supply. For $20 USD, you can add CO2 monitoring through a SCD40 module, and for $40 USD, you can have an MICS 4514 module that provides additional monitoring for CO, C2, H5OH, H2, NO2, and NH3. When ordering either or both modules of the AIR-1, they will come already installed in the AIR-1. If you do end up getting both optional modules, the total cost of the AIR-1 would then be $149 USD. Take note that while the optional sensors are accurate, they are not rated for safety monitoring per NBIC, NFPA, or IFC standards. If you end up being interested in picking up the AIR-1 or any other devices from Apollo Automation, I'll have a link in the description below. Using that link will help directly support the channel without any additional cost to you. Before we get into the results of my testing of the AIR-1 and going over some of the automation ideas I have for it, I think it's important to go over all the different information the AIR-1 collects. Ammonia is a colorless, highly irritating gas with a sharp odor, which can cause issues with your skin, mouth, throat, eyes, and lungs. The optional MICS 4514 module can detect ammonia in a parts per million range of 1 to 500. Carbon monoxide, which is also reported when you have the optional MICS 4514 module, is odorless, tasteless, colorless, and can be deadly. It is reported in a parts per million range of 1 to 1000. CO2 is reported from the optional SCD40 module, and can become impactful to overall health if you're exposed to high levels over periods of time. CO2 is reported in the ppm range of 400 to 5000, with 400 being considered an outdoor air quality value. The AIR-1 has a built-in DPS 310 barometric pressure sensor, which is used to help determine a more accurate CO2 reading in conjunction with the optional SCD40. Ethanol, which is also more commonly known as C2H5OH, is used in a wide variety of things like fuel, for medical usage, as an antiseptic, and even for drinking. It is reported by the optional MICS 4514 module in a parts per million range of 10 to 500. Hydrogen is reported by the MICS 4514 module in a parts per million range of 1 to 1000. It is a colorless, odorless gas that actually has the lowest density of all other known gases. Methane is commonly generated in homes by using gas appliances such as stovetops, heaters, and gas clothes dryers. Typically, as long as these appliances are ventilated properly, the gas is released outside and will not cause issues. A fun fact, between 30 and 62% of humans actually produce methane. It is reported by the optional MICS 4514 module with a parts per million range of 1 to 10,000. Nitrogen dioxide, also known as NO2, is an air pollutant that is created when fossil fuels are burned at high temperatures. Similar to methane, it can be generated within your home by improperly vented gas stoves, water heaters, or fireplaces. It is reported by the optional MICS 4514 module with a ppm range of 0.05 to 10. The AIR-1 has a built-in SEN 55 that can detect a wide range of airborne pollutants. This includes a wide range of particulate matter, which is often referred to as just PM, and these sizes are PM1, PM2.5, PM4, and PM10. Particulate matter is measured in micrometers, and the number indicates the size being measured. For example, PM10 describes inhalable particles with diameters that are generally 10 micrometers or smaller. The built-in SEN55 can also report on humidity level with an operating relative humidity range of 0 to 90%. The AIR-1 will also report on nitrogen oxides, also referred to as NOx, and that's done with the SEN55. NOx includes two gases, nitric oxide, which is a colorless, odorless gas, and nitrogen dioxide, which is a reddish-brown gas with a pungent odor. Take note that with the SEN55, NOx is not a direct concentration of what's in the air. Instead, it uses an index that utilizes the levels from the last 24 hours to determine if there is an increase or not. It is described as mimicking the perception of odor to a human nose, with a relative intensity compared to recent history. The range for this index is between 1 and 500, with 1 being considered normal. The AIR-1 also reports VOC, or volatile organic compounds, with the help of the SEN55. VOCs are emitted as gases from certain solids or liquids. VOCs include a variety of chemicals, some of which may have short or long-term adverse health effects. VOCs can come from all sorts of things like cooking, paint, or other chemicals, and even from humans breathing. Just like with NOx, VOCs are reported on an index utilizing a 24-hour reference. This means if the VOC reading is below 100, the amount of VOCs in the air is less than what has been seen in the last 24 hours. While if the number is above 100, that means there are more VOCs in the air compared to the last 24 hours. I'll have links in the description below for documentation on how both indexes work. Lastly, what air monitor sensor isn't complete without a temperature sensor? Luckily, the SEN55 provides the AIR-1 with a temperature sensor. Before we go over my testing results, I'd like to mention, if it's not already obvious, that I don't have any fancy testing equipment that would allow me to accurately test out how accurate the sensors in the AIR-1 are. Instead, I sprayed multiple different aerosols near the AIR-1 to see if they would trigger readings. In order to preserve the integrity of the sensors, I did this at a distance, as extremely high levels of different gases can cause damage to them. Taking a look at things before any testing, we can see that everything is pretty much reading 0, and VOC levels are considered normal. Breathing on the AIR-1 increases CO2 levels and humidity as expected. Spraying Lysol nearby drastically increases ammonia, carbon monoxide, ethanol, hydrogen, VOC, and even PM1 readings. A glass cleaner triggers ammonia, methane, PM1, PM5, PM10, and VOC readings to increase. Testing isopropyl alcohol triggers ammonia, carbon monoxide, ethanol, hydrogen, methane, and VOC. For some real-world testing, outside of my super high-tech testing lab, I did actually run into a few unplanned instances of high levels of undesirable air pollution in my home. The first was when drywall was being removed as part of a remodel I'm doing. I had turned my HVAC off, including the circulating fan, but I did not realize I had to turn off the whole home humidifier as well. Halfway through the day, my AIR-1 alerted me of high levels of PM1 in the air. Because of this alert, I double-checked my HVAC status to see that the circulating fan and humidifier were running, even though my HVAC was set to off. Another real-world example of how having an air quality monitor in my home has been helpful was another time during my home remodel, where my AIR-1 alerted me to high levels of methane and ammonia. In this instance, a plumber was doing work without a single window open, and the fumes from the glue they were using was traveling through the house. One thing that I discovered after getting the AIR-1 is that the recommendation to use distilled water with ultrasonic humidifiers is not just to help increase the life of the humidifier, but also to prevent adding particulate matter to the air you're breathing. This realization occurred shortly after I received the AIR-1, as I noticed alerting of high PM levels shortly after turning on a room humidifier. Initially, I was a bit confused by this and thought there was something wrong with the sensor, but after some research, I found out that using tap water will create particulate matter from the impurities in the water. Since nothing on the internet is true, except for the things I post of course, I decided to test out distilled water in a humidifier. First, we can see that running the humidifier for just a few moments with tap water increases PM levels in the air significantly. But if we run it with distilled water, the levels do not increase anywhere near as much compared to the tap water. The fact that the level increase is so minimal proves that the sensor is not simply being tricked by the mist, but instead is actually giving an accurate reading. So if you're concerned about high levels of particulate matter and are using an ultrasonic humidifier, I strongly encourage you to use distilled water. Getting the AIR-1 added into Home Assistant is pretty straightforward. First power on the AIR-1 and give it a few seconds to boot. Then connect to its hotspot from your phone or PC. The SSID should be Apollo AIR-1 hotspot. You should then automatically get a pop-up for the AIR-1 listing all visible SSIDs that it sees. If you don't automatically get a pop-up, you'll need to open a browser and navigate to 192.168.4.1. From the list of SSIDs, select the one you want the AIR-1 to connect to, and enter in the shared secret. Once all set, you can click on Save to have it connect to your wireless network, which can take a few minutes. The pop-up will automatically close once the sensor connects to your wireless network. Once the sensor is connected to your network, and as long as you have everything set up on your network to allow it, Home Assistant should discover the device and have it listed under Discovered. Click on Configure, and then you can assign it to a Home Assistant area. Once all set, click on Finish. After setup is complete, the sensor will show up under Configured under the ESP-Home integration. If you have the ESP-Home add-on, or will be using it, now is a good time to have the AIR-1 adopted. Take note that the ESP-Home add-on is not required for using the AIR-1. An installation of the add-on will not be covered in this video. The ESP-Home add-on can make things a little bit easier though, so it's something to consider. With the AIR-1 added into Home Assistant, let's take a look at some of the entities. Keep in mind that mine does have all the optional modules installed. Under Controls, you have the ability to calibrate the SCD40 to 400 parts per million, which is meant to be used after the sensor has been left outdoors, powered on, for 10 to 15 minutes. The sensor does come pre-calibrated however, so you probably won't have to use this control. The Clean SCN55 control will spin up the fan on the sensor to help clear out anything that might be stuck lingering inside. This can be helpful if you have the device in an area that often experiences heavy dust, such as inside a workshop. The RGB light control is pretty self-explanatory, and you can click on it to actually set the color of the built-in LED light. All three controls can be used within automations, such as the LED, to quickly notify you of current status of your air quality, or to clean the SEN55 on a regular schedule automatically. Under Sensors, you'll find the information for all the different sensor readings the AIR-1 is taking. You can hide any of them you may not be interested in. Under the Configuration section, you'll find a few different options. ESP Reboot will reboot the AIR-1. SEN55 Humidity Offset can be used to change the offset for the humidity reading on the sensor. SEN55 Temperature Offset can be used to adjust the offset for the temperature sensor. Keep in mind that even if you're using Fahrenheit for Home Assistant, the offset setting is in Celsius. The Startup Light Blink configuration option controls if on boot up, the LED of the AIR-1 blinks momentarily. I like this as it lets me know when the device is booting when plugged into power. And the last is Factory Reset ESP, and it is hidden by default. This one will reset the device back to factory settings. Under Diagnostic, you'll find information about the AIR-1 such as free memory, ESP temperature, wireless signal strength, and uptime. Now that you have your AIR-1 added into Home Assistant, you might be asking yourself, what exactly can I do with this thing? Well, for starters, you can make a beautiful dashboard that will tell you all about the air quality in your home. But after you spend a few days obsessively staring at the gauges and graphs trying to figure out the source of some random methane spike, it'll be time to create some automations using the AIR-1. One smart home automation I have set up is to trigger my office air purifier when any of the PM levels are elevated. This automation takes advantage of a presence sensor in my office, so that it will only be triggered when someone is actually in the room. I could just have the air purifier running whenever I'm in the office, but it's kinda loud, and having it run when not needed is just a waste of electricity anyways. Another useful automation for the AIR-1 is different types of alerting when abnormal levels of certain gases or PMs are detected. For example, I get a text message when my Office AIR-1 detects elevated levels of CO2. This can happen if my office door is shut for extended periods of time or if I'm in a lot of meetings. CO2 concentrations, as low as 1,000 parts per million, have been correlated with headaches and drowsiness, and I get both of those enough without the help of CO2. With the built-in RGB lights, you can have the AIR-1 showing green when air quality is good, and then change its color based on air quality decreasing. Having a way to easily determine the air quality in the room you're in, or your home in general, is nice to have and can be set up quickly. If you have a voice assistant set up, you could even have audible notifications triggered when high levels of any monitored gases or particulate matter are detected.
High levels of methane have been detected on the first floor.
Again, keep in mind that the sensors in this device are not rated for safety monitoring, and you should take that into consideration when you use these for certain automations. A bonus automation that I don't have set up, but that you might find helpful, is if you have a forced air HVAC system that is tied into Home Assistant. If you do, you could have your furnace fan turn on when elevated levels of CO2 are detected to help increase air quality. I don't have this automation set up because the fan runs mostly 24/7 already, but you may find it helpful. I'd love to know what other automation ideas you come up with for air quality sensors, so make sure to let the community know in the comments below. Overall, the AIR-1 is a reasonably priced air quality sensor, which has a modular design allowing for you to not have to pay for a bunch of monitors that you may not need or care about. I've actually ended up buying a few more AIR-1s for my home, as I liked the test unit that I got so much. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that it should be shared with others. And if you aren't already, consider subscribing to the channel and enabling notifications to be one of the first to know when I release other smart home related videos just like this one. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy automating.